match an EDC loadout for each situation? Or do you go for maximum versatility and just have one EDC that can do everything for all situations?
I have this potentially annoying secret third option that's a mix of the two in the worst way possible. My favorite thing is the journalism specific stuff. So the voice recorder and the fountain pen, who gets to do that? Not many people get to record in the field with a dedicated voice recorder. I think that's sick. I love the single purpose tech. I
Big
love
old
that stuff.
red recording button. I love
Yeah,
that.
dude. This is the Megatherium. Sounds like a coin of some sort.
And I didn't realize that they had worked with this designer whose name is Elijah Isham, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. I got news from Kizer that they're re-releasing this collaboration that they did with him, and they told me that it's the last time they are bringing back this design just to honor his memory.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Carry the Way, the weekly podcast where we nerd out about all things EDC gear and maybe try to teach you a thing or two while we're at it. I'm Bernard, the founder of everydaycarry.com, and I'm joined by our editor, Mikey.
Hello.
So if you're new to the show, welcome. Here we talk about the latest in EDC gear, answer questions from the community, and review pocket dump submissions from our viewers. And if you've listened before, we just want to say thank you so much for the support. And just give you a quick reminder to thumbs up, to like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps the channel. I don't know where we're at in terms of subscribers. We might have hit 1,000 by the time this airs. So if we do, thanks so much. And we're going to give away gear. But if not, tell your friends to sub. It will really help. But first, why don't we jump into a pocket check? I think I will go first, Mikey, because I always make you go first, and I'm going to be real generous today and just have nothing to report. So nothing new from me. I think I've been rocking kind of the same stuff. I guess the only actual additions that are different now that I'm kind of back to carrying my smaller phone. It does have a headphone jack still, so I do carry wired earbuds from time to time. And I think we'll talk a little bit about this later in the show, but with one of the questions. But one thing I like about this versus the AirPods that I have in now is this is a single-use, dedicated purpose, pure experiential type of product versus these, which do everything. I use these for work. I use these when I'm doom scrolling, for everything. So it's nice to kind of just intentionally take these out, put these in, and know that I'm going to listen to music that I enjoy in the best way possible with these Sony IER M9 in-ear monitors.
Fancy stuff. Nice.
Yeah, a little bit fancy. These are part of their, not the top of the line, maybe their second best non-custom, non-JDM exclusive type of professional grade gear. This is like something vocalists would use on a stage, I would say. So it's not purely for music listening, just like consumer music listening, but it's overkill for that. It's really good for that. So yeah, I've been having that with my iPhone SE 2016. And then, I haven't really changed much up in terms of like the tool type gear, but the tech is kind of in flux. So, and I think it's just because of a general activities drought. We've been kind of busy here. I've just kind of been at my desk most of the time, and the way that my volunteering schedule works, and that's where I usually really put my knives and gloves and all that stuff to work. We just haven't had too many of those opportunities, and then I haven't been traveling as much, so I haven't been too dialed in about going to different places with different weather and having bags and all these setups and stuff. So been pretty quiet here on the pocket dump front. So why don't you bring some freshness to the pocket check, Mikey?
You have a whole new phone to do the dedicated thing. I have this little dongle just to go from...
sometimes I use that too, because those things are really good, actually. I have one with the lightning with the lightning end on it. It's really good. I do, however, the brain worms right now. So usually we talk about brain worms, maybe not what's actually in our pockets, but we wish that were in our pockets. The brain worms this week, they want the iPhone 13 mini, like a refurbed one.
Nice.
Just because the 2016 SE, it's not getting the software updates I need, so I can't use it for things like Notion and ChatGPT, which maybe I shouldn't be using on that phone. Maybe that's not the point of a small phone. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead
The
with your pocket
brainworms
dump.
for me, the brainworms for me have been AirPod 4s, but no good deal at this time during Black
Yeah,
Friday. It's just like 18% off.
surprising.
I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
eh. So, but on the flip side from you, I have had a new resurgence of activity in the evening because I'm now majorly in charge of walking the dog, and I am not in a very well lit area. So, ooh, flashlight time.
When are you ever? When are you ever, Mikey? I
No,
feel like
I'm
you
just
you choose to be nocturnal and live in dim places so you can play with your flashlights.
exactly. Yeah. So now I'm just carrying the lightest possible, most effective setup that I can put together. I have a couple of light stuff from Nightcore, EDC 23, the small guy of the rectangle
Did they send you
series.
that?
Yeah, it's
Oh, what
really
the
cool.
heck?
I
Okay.
think, okay, honestly, I think this is the best one of all of them just because of the pure size of it. And
Yeah.
it's like the EDC 29 that you have. It's got the physical
Mhm.
lock, so which is my favorite thing. It's so powerful. It does heat up pretty fast. So
Yeah.
having
And
the
it's got a
physical lock,
does it have a screen too? The OLED screen like the
yeah,
27? Oh, sick.
yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. The last one
So
I got was the 25, which just has like little LEDs. It doesn't have the full
yeah, and
screen. Yeah.
then I'm alternating that with the double A one of the simple line of flashlights or affordable line. Sorry,
Mhm.
completely blocking it. It's the MT1A Pro. So it uses a
Yeah.
double A battery and it's a simple three-stage system. And what I like about both of these, I can mouth carry them when I'm picking poop up. Very important. If I have to be hands-free completely, both of them are light enough to just be mouth carried. So there's that.
Uh-huh.
And
I
then the
was gonna
lightest,
make a joke, but maybe we
yeah.
save that one for later.
Just keep that in the back
Because if
pocket.
you wanted to dual wield the flashlights, then that you'd have to come up with some other way of picking up the. No,
I,
never mind. Never mind.
right,
Let's
right.
move on. Really quickly before you continue, I do
Yeah.
want to mention that we did get some feedback from viewers about like showing the stuff in our pocket dumps
Mm,
a little bit more clearly for the camera.
yeah.
We are gonna work on getting you supplemental footage and work with the editor to make it
Yeah.
easier to see and appreciate what we're talking about. So we really appreciate the feedback. Please leave comments and feedback like that. Like we just want to make the show better for you. So whatever feedback you have, I think that's appreciated. But
Yeah.
anyway, back
Yeah.
to the picking things up with your hands and
With
not
my
your
mouth.
mouth. No, no,
Exactly.
no.
The carrying a knife, one of the lightest ones I have. This is the Aroundsquare Base Knife, one of our
Yep,
favorites. Just
yep.
flat. It fits in. It's very high speed, low drag. Just for any reason I need to carry a knife, this is always one of my go-to's just because of how light it is. It's about a stick of
Yeah.
gum, pack of gum. And finally, I am part of a whole other discussion about optimizing my watch system. I am aiming for more high visibility watches at night. So in the evening, I have been wearing my tritium based Luminox just because it doesn't need
Oh.
any lume at night and it's my most visible watch thanks to the tritium
Hmm.
tubes. And this is the original, they're most affordable and one of the original ones, the Navy SEAL 3001. So it's super lightweight. It's also, since it's made of rubber and this carbon material, very lightweight. If the dog gets feisty and she scratches it up, I mean, it's probably G-Shock levels of robustness.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
speaking of G-Shocks, one of the things I picked up during Black Friday, I did pick up a G-Shock
Nice.
because I picked up one of the ones I've been meaning to check out, the GBD 200, which has the new MIP display, memory and pixel. Plus, it has a step counter. Plus, it has a backlight. So I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
that's basically those two watches, including this one, will be the evening setup, very high, very as visible as possible, and I'll leave my like bracelet based watches to for daytime stuff or when I'm
I
going
feel
out.
like all your watches are super high visibility though. They have like
Yeah,
insane lume and yeah, okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
to a type, right? So yeah, so that's basically just optimizing the daily dog walking setup. That's at least an hour or two outside at night every day. So just yeah,
An hour or
having
two?
yeah. So some
Nice.
early morning and then late evening. which is the schedule. So yeah, so that's second best EDC thing other than opening Amazon boxes. Dog walking, the next best
Mm-hmm.
thing to flex all the gear
Yeah.
and
So
put
for
it all
all of
to
you
good
out
use.
there, if you want an even more expensive justification for getting new flashlights and watches, get a
Get a
dog.
dog.
That's what Mikey's
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. That's the name of the
Great.
episode. Get a dog.
Get a
Yeah.
dog. Or you can get something from one of our sponsors. How about that?
Let's do it.
And we'll jump into an ad read then, because today's episode is presented by our parent company, Ridge. Ridge is best known for their premium minimalist metal EDC wallets with RFID blocking technology and a lifetime warranty. But they make all sorts of EDC gear these days, like EDC knives, key organizers, wedding bands, pens, backpacks, and hardshell luggage too. I use their products every day, and so do a ton of other people with over 50,000 5-star reviews. You can try them out with a 99-day risk-free trial to see if you like them, and now is the best time to try out Ridge for yourself or to give to a loved one, because they're running a huge holiday sale with savings up to 47% off. So upgrade your EDC with Ridge at ridge.com/carrytheway for 10% off your order. It supports the show, and thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring today's episode. So we'll jump into the news cycle for the week. All right. So starting off, something from Kizer.
Mhm.
This is the Megatherium. Sounds like a
Megatherium.
coin of some sort. But who
Or
designed
dinosaur.
this knife?
Yeah, so this I came into the Kizer train pretty late. I missed the whole train with the sheepdogs, that whole primetime Kizer stuff. And I didn't realize that they had worked with this designer whose name is Elijah Isham, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think
Um,
22, something like
yeah,
that.
2022, he had an altercation, and unfortunately, he passed away from that incident. But I got news from Kizer that they're re-releasing this collaboration that they did with them, the Megatherium, and they told me that it's the last time they are bringing back this design, just to honor his memory.
Memory, yeah.
If you're not familiar with Elijah Isham, I have another link in our notes. But he's best known for his stuff that he did with We Knife Co. Really, really alien-like, very iconic designs. Um, a lot of We knives that ship now that we receive also come with a sticker for your We knife for knife, and they most of the time they use that one, the Arrakis.
The Arrakis, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very. I mean, take one look at it. It's a very alienish, organic, HR Gigerish type design. Really, really cool. And yeah, so I didn't realize that he had done a collaboration with Kizer, and like I said, they're bringing that back for one last time, super premium materials, and then yeah, just honoring his legacy, and that's the last time they're gonna put it out. So it's
Yeah,
pro true, basically.
right.
Instead
I
of a
wish
retro.
the people that are listening on, say, Spotify or something and not watching, I wish you guys like go and look up Isham's designs. They're super unique. They're more like art pieces that somehow translate well to production knives. And he has a few interesting kind of hallmark design uh hallmarks, I guess. Like this, I think he does sub frame locks, or like frame locks that only go half the length,
Yeah,
and also hides flipper tabs a lot, so that they're very discreet, and then when they're fully deployed you don't really see the flipper tab.
yeah.
And just like this futuristic, almost fantastical sci-fi type of design language to it.
Animal like, even organic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
they're yeah, exactly. They're organic but futuristic. And if we look at some of the other ones from it's like almost like Alien versus Predator type,
I know. Yeah,
right? With the way the skeletonization is, the different angles and curves. But he does have some of the simpler knives. I think I liked his Zeta. Is the Zeta on here? Probably not. But he'll explore just different types of shapes, and really see where they go, really push the limits. So big loss, I think, in terms of the knife design
yeah.
community. But
And
it's
unfortunately, Judah is passing as well. He's not making any more new designs, and his older ones are just everybody's collecting them for good reason. And
discontinued stuff.
yeah,
But this is a cool opportunity to experience some of that artistry, right?
Yeah.
here. Now let's look at the specs a little bit. So this is a 20 CV blade steel. I think Kizer uses 20 CV for like almost everything these days.
For all the premium stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Nebula fat carbon inlay there, and then what is the overall? Oh, okay, black titanium. Yeah, then the inlay
Yeah.
is fat carbon. So
I like what you mentioned earlier that hidden subframe locks and hidden tabs, when it's
mhm.
deployed and when it's closed, you don't see the trappings of it looking like a knife.
Yeah,
The only thing that makes it look like quote unquote a knife is the pivot screw, which even then it's kind of smooth over. It doesn't
right,
look like
right.
a normal screw. You don't see a flipper tab. You don't see a thumb stud. You don't see anything that would remind you that it's kind of like a human knife. If you know what I'm saying, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's more of very organic, all flowing lines, and it's yeah. You don't see a flipper tab. You don't see the lock as much. You try as much as possible to hide the elements that make it a organic, an inorganic, inanimate object. So it's more
Oh,
alive
I see.
because
Yeah.
it hides those elements. Like even the clip is kind of camouflaged into the pattern of the fat
Mm-hmm.
carbon. So stuff like that, and yeah,
Yeah, that's a great observation. Very well said, Mikey.
yeah.
Yeah. So for people wondering, it does have kind of a large Warncliffe blade, 3.65 inches.
Ooh, that's
And
huge.
what else do we got here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that covers most of it. It's just a very interesting, unique design, and I appreciate Kaiser for bringing this back. I think it will make a lot of people happy and excited to
Yeah.
have a chance at this. It is
I've always wanted
a
in
limited
Arrakis. Yeah.
edition, exclusive, premium materials, unique design, $235. So, um,
Which is not
not
bad for something that premium and for a one of a kind design that's never coming
yeah.
back. I think that's a little bit worth splurging on. I think.
Yeah, this is definitely like I think an enthusiast knife. Like
Yeah, that's
there's
exactly a
right
good description.
that so you're kind of willing to spend there. I don't think the first time knife buyer probably has
No,
never heard of Isham,
and
right? Doesn't know what
not your
fat carbon is.
conventional, and it wouldn't be a conventional design, and not the most EDCable since due to its size and all of that. So
Right.
yeah,
And I think so just really quickly, I think this is one of those knives that you kind of wouldn't fully appreciate until you tried more conventional
exactly.
accessible knives, right? Because then if you've handled uh, even a liner lock or just a traditional frame lock, then you can understand, oh, this is what makes the subframe lock interesting. Or if you've
Yeah.
tried a bunch of very proud flipper tabs that become the finger choil, then you could see,
Mhm.
oh, it's so clever how he designed this so that when it's fully deployed, it's the tab is hidden, becomes this cleaner experience, right? So
Nice. Yeah.
you can't really appreciate that fully, I think, until you've experienced what it isn't, which some people are like, yeah, I can experience what it isn't and save $235. It's like, yeah, sure, that's fair. I'm not saying you need to you need to do that, right? It reminds me of that episode in The Simpsons when Lisa goes to a jazz bar and
Yeah.
then this guy who's sitting next to her hates it. And she's like, no, you have to listen to the notes. He's not playing. It's like, I can do that at home. That's what this reminds me of. But
That's
yeah.
perfect.
And anyway,
It's like it's kind
very
of like a
interesting.
yeah, it's a knife collector's knife. When you've
Mhm.
seen and dialed in everything, and you want a little more like spice. This is the
Yeah.
kind of thing you start appreciating. Yeah.
Right. So very cool. And then even if this isn't your cup of tea, you could just watch some guys talk about it for free. So there we go. Let's
Enjoy
let's
that at
move
home
on. I
too.
think yeah, I think we'll move on to the next piece of news here. This one is
Which is not
the
$235 at least.
yeah, this is on sale actually. So
Yeah.
for under $40, this is the Wurkkos HD01 UV, which I've
Yeah.
actually handled for a bit. So why don't you tee this one up for us, Mikey? Because
Yeah.
I think you
So
sent this my way just to throw me for a loop. This is
I
not
did. Yeah.
something that I normally would carry,
Mhm.
but I am starting to appreciate it. So I'm curious to hear how you interpret this, and then I'll give my thoughts after using it for like I don't know this past week.
Yeah, no, like at the time of filming this, we did feature the non-UV version of this, the first version that they sent out. This is basically just a step up from that, which includes the UV light. and that's pretty useful for identifying stuff or spotting glow in the dark stuff in the dark, charging up your watch, stuff like that. But in
Mm-hmm.
general, it's coming. I was one of the. It's Wurkkos's hat in the ring of the modern rectangular flashlight.
Candy bar. Yeah.
Yeah, of which the Nightcore that I was holding up earlier is a
Mm-hmm.
part of. So it's just their take on it. And what makes it unique is, in addition to the dual types of LEDs out the front, you do have that RGB strip on the right, on the side of the light. You were showing it off in a video, and
Mm-hmm.
there are places where you can use the RGB light, just like an accent light if you're taking photos or something, and you can use the standard stuff, red light for low light vision and all of that. um, Higher CRI, warm white for easier on the eyes,
Yep.
stuff, side light.
I do like
Yeah.
that mode the best. I think like the side light that's just a warm white.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe the first light where I'm like the auxiliary side light is better than both of the main emitters, to be honest.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, so this is one of the latest lights from Wurkkos. We did talk about, I don't know if it was last episode or a couple episodes ago, they had an inexpensive enthusiast flashlight. So this is more along the standard mainstream meta rectangular flashlight stuff, and
right.
it's just their unique take on it, which the main thing would be the side RGB lights and the warm light on the side, in addition
Yeah.
to the fruit 2 out the front. Yeah.
So this kind of reminds me of my summer EDC flashlight, the
Mhm.
Olight Arkfeld Summer 3 Ti.
Exactly. Yeah,
It,
yeah.
in that it has actually mine didn't even have the UV. So an Arkfeld Pro would have UV, a laser, and then a
The
normal
main light.
emitter, right? This
Yeah.
one is just it basically just doesn't have the laser and instead replaces it with the side light that I think is more useful. Probably I don't think I would use like the I don't think I would use the police siren light. I don't know what this is
I don't.
for
You know,
ever.
even this light I have in the background has
Uh-huh.
that effect. What am I gonna
Yeah.
use that? Am I
I
just gonna
really don't
threaten
know what
people
this is
with
for.
it?
No, but like on a flashlight, it's so small that like I don't even think you can emulate the effect of police sirens in the background for artistic cinematography or anything. I don't know what this is for. I'm not pulling anyone over with this and like
Oh my
fooling
God.
them. Uh,
I've always found
but
that effect pretty funny. They include that in
yeah,
so many things that have
I know.
nothing to do with the main function of the light. That's just hilarious.
But this light bar, the warm white floody light bar, I think is pretty
That's nice.
useful. And compared to the actual main emitter, the beam profile on it, I'm just gonna say, is not great because of the shape of this. What do you call this? The head?
The reflector?
I guess so.
It's such a small reflector.
It's an orange peel reflector, but the thing is, it's like the reflector is perfectly round, conical, right, as you'd
Mhm.
expect. But the rest of the body, the head that surrounds and encases those optics, is not
Mhm.
round. It's this weird like candy bar shape, right?
Yeah,
So
it's just like
that
an
does
O.
affect and change the shape of the beam profile when it's out. And I'm not even the type to really nitpick beam profile and tint and stuff to that degree, but it is just kind of wonky to look at. And
Right.
but then again,
Plus,
I'm
it's
just
not even
surrounded by white
centered
walls.
because it's on the
That
right
too,
side of. Yeah,
yeah. So but it works. It's useful. It's fine. But
yeah.
I do think the side light is just more useful for me and what I would
I
use.
could.
I think.
I
Mhm.
need a UV light actually. I do want, if I want to take loom shots and stuff. That's something I don't
Yeah,
have on hand. So for people who don't know, UV light is probably the best way to charge up loom or to charge up glow in the dark stuff you may have.
really
If you have
fast.
patches or glow tape or anything that has luminescent, that reacts to light, UV light is probably the best way to charge it up and get a nice photo and stuff. So I'm actually surprised I don't have a UV light on hand. So
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know what people use it outside of that for. I guess you can check currency, hunt scorpions, that kind of stuff, other bioluminescent things.
Making yourself paranoid at hotel rooms.
Uh-huh. I don't know if that actually works though. I think for the blacklight thing to work, you need luminol or something, right? Like some kind of chemical agent to make those things react to the UV light. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not going to test it. that will just be something that I choose to never know. I think I'll just live in
Yeah.
ignorance there.
Yeah.
But
Be happy.
anyway,
Never.
this
Don't try it.
yeah, this has plenty of features and it's only $40. I think this
Mhm.
is cheaper than most other candy bar form factor flashlights.
Yeah. And you do
And
get a
yeah,
lot of utility with it.
yeah,
Like
pretty
I
feature
have all
packed.
of these lights and no UV lights, so that's +1
Right.
there. So yeah.
And it also now comes in purple. So I'm sure like two of you listening out there are building a purple setup right now, and you're like, oh, sick, perfect. Yeah. So
Exactly
that's
what I
the
was looking for.
Wurkkos HD01 UV. And let's move on to our last piece of news for this week. I like this piece of news, Mikey. Good job with this
Hmm.
one. This is
Yeah.
the Evergoods Element line.
Hmm.
Very interesting.
This
Which
came
one
out
do
of
you want
nowhere.
to? Oh yeah.
Yeah. They just I saw an announcement and then it was out and then oh that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Which one do you want to talk about? Because I have one that I'm most interested in, but I'm curious what you think.
I think the most I wouldn't I think I know what you're going to be talking about, but I think the most useful for me here would be either of the pouches or both, because I do have a smaller Night Eyes first aid kit. It's called the Night Eyes Pocket, and it's got a true zip system where it makes it completely waterproof. So
Mm-hmm.
I do have a use case for this where that's where I put my first aid stuff, um,
Right.
for
Okay.
travel or for
I
when
guess
I'm
I guess we're talking about then. Oh, what happened?
you're talking about that.
No, I'm not talking about this. This is actually not that interesting. Or sorry, I don't want to say not that interesting. It's not as interesting as the other ones.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you before I set this up. When you eat dinner, for example, are you the
Mm.
type to save the best for last, or do you eat that right away?
Oh my gosh. I I go for the main action right away. I don't
Okay,
save the
see,
best for last. Yeah.
I save the best for last, which I don't think is the right way to live because what if you get too full before you can enjoy the thing that you're actually looking forward to? So I was gonna say, oh, let's just get this this Weathershed 22 liter out of the way because I'm not as excited about it. I don't really like storm flap type bags in this way,
Mm.
um, and yeah, but sure, like for people this is an option, this is cool, but again it's $350. I think there's a lot more interesting stuff going on in this flat pouch at
Yeah.
35, which is kind of what you were setting up. So let's talk about
Yeah.
this. You mentioned you have a first aid kit in a completely waterproof setup that is made possible by a true zip waterproof zipper.
Zipper.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah.
right.
And then
So
there's
this
also
has something similar.
yeah, and it also it reminds me of the Magpul DACA line, like a bit
Mm-hmm.
beefier version of those. If you
Mm-hmm.
have, I saw some people talking about they wanted to carry documents in a waterproof case, so this could be a solution similar there. I don't believe it's a true waterproof zipper though.
Only
The,
this product, the Element Flat Pouch Small, as you can see by this like zipper garage here,
you're right.
this is an actually waterproof setup, not only
Okay.
in material but also construction, I believe. So
Okay.
how is that possible? This has a zipper. I think it's a PU lined reverse coil. What do they call it? um oh, water, so TPU coil zipper, right?
Oh,
But
okay.
then it has a fabric. They have this fabric, I think it's called Element Textile, which I think starts off as some kind of durable nylon, but then the back is laminated with, I think, TPU. Is it
Oh,
laminated yeah, a TPU laminate, right? So, and it's a light colored, so you get the contrast in there, but it's a single piece like monolithic lamination. It's not like a coating. So it's the entire backside of the fabric has that layer. So that
mhm,
makes it, the fabric itself, completely waterproof. And then
mhm,
when you consider soft goods, right? You have your fabric, and the fabric itself can be waterproof. But say, for example, if it's sewing with a needle and thread is by definition, you're just putting a bunch of holes into that fabric. So that is where the waterproofness fails if your construction method is traditional sewing. So
yeah,
what they've done with the flat pouch is they kind of have the patterning of the pouch so that it forms a loop, and then they take the ends of the sides of the tube of that loop and RF weld that. So I think
mhm,
um, What's RF stand for? Radio? No, I forget. It's like, so yeah, it's some basically it's a, yeah, you're like welding it together, right? So it's, and gluing
Really
it.
freaking welded.
No, no. You but it's done without stitching, right? So that way you
Right, right.
preserve the waterproof integrity of the textile you start with. And then on the other side where the loop meets, that's where they implement the zipper that is also by construction waterproof. So then you end up with this actually waterproof entire pouch. But I think
Mhm.
they make the caveat it's not submersible, but it is
Yeah, so that's the
waterproof, but
difference
not
between
submersible.
the Night Eyes one. It's completely airtight once you close the zipper. So,
I think they say that too. I think they say this is gas impermeable. Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
not moisture? Just
No, it's, I definitely scoured through this product page because I was very interested in a bold
yeah.
claim of waterproofness. And I'm the
Yeah.
type to be like, is it actually though? And I think it is. I'm convinced that this is actually waterproof. And I
The
just wanted to
seams
let,
are welded.
yeah, I wanted to let the readers know, like, or the listeners know how I came to that conclusion and how I
Mm.
trust that, because they gave like all this information about both the fabrics, hardware, and the construction methods, which all makes
Radio
sense to me.
frequency welded.
Yes, that's what it
Radio
was.
frequency
I
welded.
think I was saying radio, but
Yeah.
it sounded weird in the moment. So, yeah, this one's pretty cool. It's not that big though, so you can't put too much. They kind of
Yeah.
do some examples. I think they
Small
call it
tech
their
pouch,
fit
small
guide.
stationary pouch.
Yeah, and there's also a PU welded, or like a welded PU window here, so you can identify stuff in there. Oh, it comes in
Mm.
yellow. Oh, sorry, I'm like, oh, that's sick.
Add to cart.
Yeah,
What's
or
the
you can put their little ID pouches, not pouches, patches in there. See,
patches?
like this. So
Yeah,
it's
the
like how they do
signature
their
square
branding.
pouch.
Yeah, yeah,
A patch, square patch in the pouch. Yeah. Is
yeah,
there
yeah.
that? What's the other one? Is it a bigger size?
It's
The
a
other one?
bigger size, so it's the drop-in one. But it's, yeah, it's much bigger. It's like a tech organizer with dividers.
Mm,
But this
like a
one
folio.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, this one is not fully waterproof, I believe, because
I see.
this
I see.
zipper is the reverse coil laminated zipper. It doesn't have the garage at the end like a true zip type system would.
I didn't realize it was $35. That's very compelling, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't actually own an Evergoods product. I'm
Mm.
a little behind on the Evergoods stuff, but this is like their pouches are some of the most popular I've seen in in the carry community, and this was a bit standout to me, like you mentioned. It's a
Mm.
very specific niche case, but it looks like it does it very well.
Also, for me personally, when you design for that functionality of waterproofness, right, it
Mm,
ends up having lots of cool aesthetic elements that I personally enjoy. So you
yeah.
don't see thread, you don't see, the teeth of zippers, that kind of stuff. It ends up
Mm.
being this very like literally seamless experience. Um, and I think that's so visually satisfying, and that just resonates with me. So that's why I tend to gravitate also in the clothing that I wear
Yeah.
to that kind of technical waterproof stuff. I
You
think it just
love the
looks
taped
cooler and cleaner.
seams.
Yeah, so very cool. So I was excited when Mikey like slid this across the news desk to share today.
Yeah, I
Pretty
didn't
cool.
realize that it was the pouch that you were going to gravitate towards. I thought you'd have something to say about the backpack, but yeah,
Dude,
we're on the
I
same
use
page.
pouches more than I wear backpacks, I think. So that's kind of
True.
where I'm at. Because now I have a
Honestly, actually, me
car.
too.
Yeah. I have a car with like pouches in it. And if I were still living in the city, like where I took the train, I would probably care more about the backpack. But
Dude, I'm following your lead in as I'm carrying super low profile slings, lightweight. In addition to the dog walking stuff, I'm trying out a pouch I can't actually talk about yet, but it's super lightweight, and I'm also
mhm,
using a lot more totes now. So I'm kind of leaning into your camp a
nice.
little bit about the carry stuff.
Getting tote pilled.
Just
I see.
yeah, getting tote pilled exactly. Yeah,
uh, cool. So
totally. Yeah,
totally tote pilled.
yeah.
All right. So I think that will cover it for the news cycle. Again, this is the Evergoods Element line. And then there's the flat pouch, the
Hmm.
smallest size, 2 colors, $35, fully waterproof. Then we have the 10 times as expensive full on backpack here. and then the drop-in pouch. So this is like a good, I think, system if you live in like the Pacific Northwest or Southeast Asia. It's always raining for some reason. There you go. Yeah. So why don't we jump into the Q&A section? So what do we got this week? Every week on Instagram on Mondays, we will post a story saying, hey, what do you want us to talk about on the show? And some of you send repeat questions like our friend Francisco. So appreciate that. But if you do want a question answered on the show, feel free to reply to that on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, then you can leave a comment on any of our videos and we'll look for that. Or you can send us an email and that'll be in the show description as well. So where do you want to start here, Mikey?
This is an interesting one. Francisco's question could be a nice segue into something else, but it's a much bigger discussion. But he's asking, match an EDC loadout for each situation. So you would have a dedicated EDC for travel, for dog walking, for around the house, or do you go for maximum versatility and just have one EDC that can do everything for all situations? And how would you approach this? Are you for the smaller, more curated stuff per task, or are you in the maximalist? Each item must be min-max to all heck and applicable for all situations. How do you build your EDCs, or how do you approach buying new gear for yourself?
I have this potentially annoying secret third option. That's a mix of the two in the worst way possible.
Oh no!
Where you have one loadout to rule most, but not all, and never can be all. And it's not every situation. So I would rather not make a loadout for each situation because there's just too much mental overhead involved with that. And actually just that just leads to accumulating a lot, right? Because you're always going to think, some people will think, oh, I have an EDC and it needs to be perfect. What if you're like, I need to have multiple EDCs for specific scenarios and those need to be perfect?
All of them need to be perfect.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure to put on you and your EDC, I think. And similarly, having one that can cover every use case, dude, I think that's just impossible, to be honest. So what I think I end up doing is I have one not permanent setup that covers most reasonable things that I can anticipate. And then hopefully I just have the other inner resources and skills to handle the situations my EDC alone cannot cover. Right? So that's kind of where I would land. And this reminds me of another discussion we had before. Maybe that's what you're alluding to as far as like, oh, this could open up another big discussion, but it feels very similar to the do you optimize for convenience versus experience discussion we had before.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. So not convenience. I think it's just the experience.
Do you have any specific items that are close to the covering most of your bases? Do you have some stuff in your EDC or in your collection that you would say, I think this set is pretty good for a lot of things, but not going to be perfect for all of them? You have my guess for you would be your Sienkiewicz knife, and then I don't know about the flashlight, so
I never use that knife.
You just like keeping it around.
Be real. I'm gonna be real. Like it's in my valet tray by the door. Like before I leave, I don't bring it that often. But it's just there. So I will say this changes the question a little bit from what Francisco's asking. But to answer your question of, is there anything that kind of covers most of the bases? To my point, I would say it's my keychain setup and my pouch setup. But the funny thing about those is that I built those as backups, right?
Right.
So when I build the backup setups, it's just optimizing for like, yeah, I just want something to cover my bases, but my core EDC will be more about the experience or just the joy of carrying that particular rotation for that day, right? Because it's sorry, I'm starting to kind of blow my own mind with this realization in my own EDC behavior, where once I know that my bases are covered and once I feel secure in that, then I feel more willing to take risks with the stuff that I put in my pocket for the day. Isn't that
Right.
interesting? Because I know in the back of my mind, I will always have that pouch that has the entire setup in my car and then the backup setup on my keychain, right?
Yeah.
So I have like a 2-tier backup system, which lets me be experimental or maybe not as optimized with my in-pocket EDC.
Right.
So
basically,
I learned something about myself today as far as my EDC patterning. So
you got the fundamentals down, and then now you can branch out. You can experiment. You can afford to break stuff and lose stuff because you're still, you got the core stuff. You got the foundation laid down.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too philosophical, but that's perhaps one of the points of carried away, right? But I think that applies to just life in general, right? Once you feel really safe and secure in what you already have, then you're more willing to take risks and be adventurous. And I think maybe that's a reminder that some listener out there needed to hear today. So I will offer that.
Or some co-host.
Okay, well, if that's what you need. So then how is it for you, Mikey? What would you pick out of these two options?
I'm probably close to your answer as well. I do have backups on backups. I always want to leave the house with some sort of bases covered utility. It's always going to be some sort of cutting implement plus a flashlight, just in case. Always those two. Bare minimum flashlight, of course. Yeah. And like you, I do, due to the nature of the job, we do rotate through lights and knives. So there's a lot more testing in that regard. But I will always have something in one of my packs or something that's like the core functionality, at least. It changes a lot. It changes a lot just because of how much stuff passes through us. Passes through us. That sounds wrong. That passes through our desk.
I don't know what kind of testing you're doing, Mikey.
Probably picking stuff up with my
with your mouth.
Yeah. But yes, same. But I just want to make sure that I'm always bases covered, and then I can add. You mentioned something a couple of episodes back where the -1 principle, when you're about to leave the door, take off one accessory and you're kind of good. So this is the reverse of that. I have my core 3 things, like phone, wallet, keys, phone, wallet, keys, and then +2, knife and flashlight, so the 5 things. And then I can add one more thing and I'd be okay. Or that would be more satisfactory, or that would be more how do you say? I'm fully prepared with the 5 things, and then now I can do.
It's like a bonus. Else. It's like the cherry on top.
Exactly.
Right?
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, some flair, right? Some pizzazz. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
I get it.
Yeah. So -1 accessory and +1 EDC. There you go. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think in these frameworks, the one where it's like, oh, you have a dedicated loadout for different scenarios that you're expecting versus an ultra versatile, all bases covered, super maximalist, expansive EDC, do you think either one is better than the other?
Depends on your day, I guess. If you're gonna find yourself in multiple situations, it's not just dog walking. Like what if you're working with heavy machinery, or you're like in the shop during the day, and then you have to go pick up the kids, and then you have to walk the dog. Then in that kind of day to day, I would probably have something more closer to Loadout to rule them all, versus I have very specific tasks for the day. So I just want to make sure the bases are covered, and then just play around with the core stuff that I do, which is basically cutting stuff in. I needing a flashlight at night.
Great. I think that's a better answer than what my original question could have posed, right? Because instead of giving an answer, oh, is one better than the other, you gave kind of a framework to understand how you arrive at that sort of decision, that evaluation of the two. So nice. Thanks.
As usual, Francisco gives us the best alley-oops to good topics, and we get all philosophical and
I didn't know this, but apparently Francisco is like our hidden executive producer. It's just like feeding us great questions every few weeks. So thanks again, Francisco, for the thought-provoking question. Hopefully that was useful for other readers out there too. I'm curious what other people's sort of gravitate towards in terms of their EDC approach. So leave a comment, and I'm curious to hear your answers there. Why don't we jump into? We'll do a quick one here. So Bad Dog, sorry, that's just a funny name. Bad Dog asks,
name.
what or where is a good place to sell and trade, mostly sell EDC items? So I think, Mikey, you're in a bunch of different places where this type of commerce goes on.
Yeah.
Do you have any go-tos or recommendations for people that are looking to sell or get some pre-tested gear?
I would say the main places where people trade is Facebook. There's a lot of enthusiast groups.
So not marketplace.
No, not marketplace,
right?
because
You probably can't do that on marketplace, like with knives and stuff, right?
Yeah, you'll get flagged for the knives and
I
stuff.
see.
What's nice about the Facebook groups is most of the time there's like Chris Reeves buy and sell. It's the brand specific ones, and even the creators are there to kind of vet stuff. And also, if you're going to be doing trading on Facebook, there's a group called EDC Go or No Go, which is a group specifically for vetting people for trading on Facebook. So, for example, you're in a flashlight enthusiast group. You're going to be trading like a $2,000 zirconium flashlight. You're not sure about this person. You want to be part. You want to get some recommendations or vets from EDC Go or No Go, or just make sure you do your due diligence and ask about the person and make sure they've had like a long history of trading and stuff, and just watch your back. How about for I know for watches, there's Reddit is usually the place to go, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there are. Reddit in general is also like another big community.
Sure, Knife Swap,
yeah. There's like Knife Swap. There's Watch Exchange, and then even in some of the dedicated subreddits for whatever niche you're into. Say you're into bags and you go to Many Baggers. I think there might be like a buy sell trade thread or something, something like that. But like Mikey was saying, it's really important, especially when you're dealing with private sellers, to just do your due diligence. Protect yourself. Use the right payment methods. If something's too good to be true, it probably isn't. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, what about Discord?
Oh yeah, I was talking about last week how I got this flashlight from seller in Discord. So, but again, do your due diligence, because like I said, this arrived broken. So I don't know if that was the fault of the seller. I did not ask them to test it before and send me a video of them testing the flashlight before sending. So that was on me. So so there's a lot of stuff to consider, especially if you're paying for more expensive stuff. So just always protect yourself. Use PayPal goods and services. Use authentication services if there is option for that. Like I've bought a couple of watches off eBay that have free authentication via the eBay authentication service. So for shoes as well, that's a big thing. So PayPal goods and services will always side with the buyer. So if you didn't receive something in as product as described in the listing, and then you have photo evidence, PayPal is most likely going to side with you and refund you, stuff like that. So just protect yourself. Good luck, good hunting, and hopefully you find what it is, like such as Atwood Pry babies that are no longer existent.
I will say, I think to your point about just making sure that you're doing your due diligence and people are vetted. There's this saying in collecting watches and like trading watches where you buy the seller. Right. So
that's a good one.
You're not necessarily buying the watch, but you might be paying extra to do business with somebody who is trusted and respected and vetted by others. And sometimes that level of trust and confidence will mean you're paying a little bit more for whatever product watch you're buying. Right. But I think that's pretty sound advice, especially when you get into the more expensive types of, like if you're dealing with custom knives or rare watches or something like that. And also, I guess this doesn't apply to most EDC gear, but say, for example, vintage watches. There are just so many things when it comes to old stuff that if you're a beginner, I probably honestly wouldn't even recommend you like go down that route, the vintage stuff, because things are already difficult to suss out now. imagine if there's just no track record, it's just so old, you don't have reference of what it should look like because you weren't alive back then or something. That could be possible. So
Or
yeah,
they took
with
in
watches it can be
vintage
tricky.
parts of it and then put other stuff in it that's not of the
Yeah,
period, stuff like
yeah.
that.
But
Yeah,
so I guess I think we've answered the question of where you
yeah.
can go already. So like Facebook, eBay, um,
Reddit.
all the Reddit, Discord, all the used sort of sites like Mercari or something, they might have something to that effect if you're not selling knives, maybe. But the where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so one story I had was I was thinking about that vintage Grand Seiko, and it is I'm kind of put off by it just because not only do I need to understand the watch itself, but I also need to understand which collectors and sellers are reputable, and then how can I tell that their listing is also reputable, because like you were saying, I could see something that looks all original, but maybe it's been polished, or maybe it's a redial, like they recreated the dial so that it looks pristine, but it's actually, so there's just
Yeah,
so many gotchas and like thing mistakes you can make, and it's such a like a highly charged emotional experience when it's so expensive and there's so many unknowns. I'm just going to choose peace and walk away from all that. But with all that said, I hope you find a place to sell your EDC stuff. You could jump into our Discord and use our buy sell trade thing if you wanna. There might be people who are looking for what you're looking for what you got. Yeah.
cool.
All right.
Stay safe.
Yeah, we have one question here from Crean Connor. Says something about money clips, good or bad. So,
Hmm.
do you want me to say both of them? I don't know. I've used the money clip before.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, right. So I used the money clip before. It was, I think, by Superior Titanium, and this was a long time ago. This
Oh, you.
was
Let me jump in real quick. I was
sure.
just about to say, if you are gonna choose a money clip, you kind of want to always choose titanium just
Yes.
because of its
Why
springy
is that?
property, just
Right.
because of its springiness, the elasticity of it. It's always going to return to its original form, even if you try bending it beyond what it seems like it would bend for other things. I used to carry a brass money clip. I dropped it once, it dented, it never went back into its
Ah,
original shape ever again. And I switched to a titanium and it was like perfect for like 5 years. So always, if you're gonna
nice.
go money clip, if it's not gonna be like a super low profile thing, you're gonna want to choose titanium. Just there's a lot of them out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
and sorry, interrupt. I just wanted to just jump in there and give
No,
that
you make a
warning
really good
right away.
point.
Yeah.
It's important to get titanium for when you first get the money clip, because you're thinking, oh, I'm rolling in dough all the time. I need a clip for all of this. And then when you suddenly find yourself down to that last dollar bill, money clip can still hold on to that thing securely because of its material properties. So
Yeah.
titanium is the way to go. I will say, I think now money clips are not as popular. I don't see them as much in pocket dumps. And I think it's just because we're moving towards a cashless kind of society, right? Especially post
Mm,
COVID. Not a
yeah.
lot of places take cash. So not a lot of people have the need for a money clip. But in other parts of the world, cash is king, right?
Mm.
The other thing, though, with that is I don't know if a money clip would be the best way to carry all your cash, especially if you're traveling abroad.
Especially with
Just depending,
coins.
right?
Ah,
And
yeah.
just depending on where you're at, because you're sort of telegraphing to people that's like, oh, I'm carrying this much cash, and I feel like that might not be the wisest thing to do. So,
Pulling out just bundled rubber rubber band from
hmm.
your pocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulling
So
out knots out of your jeans.
overall, I think money clips are an option. Personally, not for me anymore. I do have the money clip that I mentioned. It's a Superior Titanium. I believe that's the brand, made in USA, Viper clip or something. And I use
Mm,
that just for single dollar bills, like very loose change in my car for when I don't know, I need to hit a vending machine or get change for quarters to park or something.
yeah.
Very strange use case, but or tip, like tip valet or something.
Mm.
That comes in handy.
I've long stopped using a money clip because either the main thing is I have coins, which is super annoying, and I just need to have a wallet to carry that just to
Yeah.
be as least annoying as possible. The other thing is rather than a money clip, I just fold it once, and put it in my pocket. Like if I have extra bills, that's the most organized. That's the most convenient thing. I just fold it over and then I just stuff that into my pocket and or into my bag.
Wow.
And one less thing to bang around something else, and one less thing to carry. And I mean, someone's convenient. It's just bills folded, tucked in, ready to
Okay.
go.
This guy's lining his pockets with bills to prevent scratches. I see.
I know. Yeah.
I'm
Too
familiar
bad you
with your
picked up
game
on
now.
it.
Yeah.
Curses.
That's so funny. That is so funny. Okay. I think that's all we can really speak to money clips. Honestly, I don't think they're as popular or as used very often, but I do think they're still a viable piece of carry for people that need that. It's just I don't think a lot of people are. So yeah. I have one last question. I did mention before that you can leave a comment on our videos and we'll try to answer. So let's do that. Let's see, on our last episode, so a week before this one airs, I think, Mad Bear asks, do you think Balisong trainers can be EDC for autistic people as a type of tactile touch option? So that's a very interesting question.
Mm.
And I want to preface with the fact that Mikey and I are not medical professionals or psychologists or doctors or anything like that. But I will say I did do a little research. And to be perfectly transparent, I asked ChatGPT what medical research said. Is there anything that backs or supports? Is there any evidence that supports that fidget toys can be used to either improve focus or alleviate stress in neurodivergent people, right? And basically it says, it depends. People are different. Nothing's conclusive.
I thought that was
So
going to go a whole other way.
no. It helps some people, other people not so much, and I think that's like a fair take. But if you're interested in this line of discussion, I think it would be really cool to check out our interview with Matt from Aroundsquare. We touched on this topic a little bit, and part of the reasons why, and again, I am not a doctor or anything or psychologist or anything like that, but I think there is some merit in having physical stimulation in the hand, because it can help when some people who are maybe neurodivergent on the spectrum or whatever, they can be affected by stimulus in different ways. So having something like some kind of fidgeting physical tool, right, can help provide predictable, consistent levels of stimulation in their hands, which can offload some of the processing in the brain to let the brain focus on what it needs to do, because the hands are doing that stimulation regulation, if that makes sense.
Even for neurotypical people, ever see somebody shaking their leg or clicking a pan or fiddling around with stuff? And the answer would be the same there too, right? It depends.
It
If
depends.
it works for some people, it works. It just annoys some people. But for you and me personally, we both have invested a little bit in the Aroundsquare stuff. We both have the Mala Beats for counting and breath work. I would say, just from a personal
I have
standpoint,
some on me all the time, actually.
I'm literally playing with something in my hands as we're talking right now, just to keep me focused. I like flicking knives is one of my things I like to do with my hands. But otherwise, I'm also a pen clicker. That annoyed everybody back in school. I just all clicking all day. But it does help me. I don't know. It's gonna be different for everyone, but for me personally, I like having that focused stimulus, and with the option for breath work or meditation, or even more like the next step up from just having somewhere to put my hands or something to fidget with.
I guess the last thing I'll say on this is addressing the point specifically about Balisong trainers. So I have some stuff from Squid Industries, and there was a brief moment where I really wanted to learn to flip Balisongs. So in case you didn't know or haven't looked at the screen before, I'm Filipino and my dad is from the place in the Philippines where they make Balisongs, right? So I thought, it'd be like some kind of cool way to connect to my culture in this hobby a little bit. and learn Balisong flipping and just like that kind of artistry. But anyway, the point is when I'm doing the practice of Balisong flipping, it requires a lot of focus, and
And
there's like
space.
and yes, space and focus and like quiet and all that. And you can really just tune into what you're doing, and then that's like a different kind of clearing of the mind that I think can, at least for me, it does help reduce stress, does help kind of bring some clarity, some equanimity, just in the brief moment that I'm very present with what's in my hand and what's going on and what I feel in my body. Sometimes,
Yep.
especially if we're just like sitting in front of a computer screen or our phones or whatever, and we're not really in tune with our body and we're just getting inundated with all this like mental stimulus from all the content we consume, that can be a lot. And then I think moving your body and then having that kind of predictable manipulative, that to use Matt from Aroundsquare's term,
Mm.
that really helps, I think, access that kind of more focused part of you, right? In
And
that action.
also, it can help you get in the zone for that particular thing. And
That too, yeah.
having that satisfaction or having that mental clarity to have that focus and enjoyment of doing that specific thing and doing it well, or like flipping well, or getting
Right,
that enjoyment and being in that zone, I think can be
right.
helpful for anybody. It can be Balisong flipping, it can be pen flipping, it can be coin flipping, whatever.
Yeah,
Anything that lets you get in the zone performing something that's not just pure stimulus and consumption, I think that's healthy for everybody.
true.
I think,
And I
yeah.
think to add a little bit there and emphasize some of the nuance, you were mentioning coin, pen, and Balisong flipping. We're
Mm.
talking about the actual skill based
Yes,
action, right? Not
yes,
just merely clicking your pen nervously. That is not
yes, yes.
kind of what I'm talking about. You don't really need to get into that state of mind to just click a pen and just expel nervous energy. We're talking about really
Mm.
focusing on the skill based expression of that type of manipulative. And there's
Yeah.
like a whole host of other, I think, mentally beneficial benefits to that, like pursuit of mastery and that kind of thing, and expression. Um,
Sports, and yeah.
yeah. So anyway, really cool question. Thanks for
I
using the
know, yeah.
comments to do that and reach us there. So hopefully that was helpful. And I think with that said, we will move into our user submissions for the week. So
Yeah.
we'll jump into this. This is a pocket dump from Rayjack from our Discord.
Let me just preface this. Ray Jack was talking to us in Discord, and they were saying like, you guys haven't featured me yet. I'm like, you have a direct line to us right here in Discord. Just make the submission, and I'll make
Uh-huh.
sure we talk about you in the very next episode. And
Oh,
yeah, here it
cool.
is. What's up, Ray Jack? So hopefully you enjoy us taking down your EDC bit by bit. Just kidding. But thank you for the
No,
submission.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's not what we do here, I think.
no, no.
Cool. So let's give some context to this. Hopefully everybody has seen this for a bit, and then I'm just going to read Ajax's little blurb about this. They are a stagehand in Seattle, Washington, and they say my current setup as a stagehand, or grip as they're known in the trade. The only
That's
thing
so
that I
cool.
switch between is the watches and the bracelets. While on the job, I'm often moving fast through tight spaces and difficult terrain. I try to pack as much functionality as possible into a few solid tools so I'm not slowed down or encumbered by a bulky tool belt. Everything you see here will fit into the pockets of a pair of cargo pants. I also often work in poor lighting conditions, so a lot of my gear glows in the dark so I can find it if I drop it.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
And our pick for this post is the, why can't I scroll? It's the Rovivon E5 in the luminous body. So I think I have this one as well. This
Yeah,
whole body, the clear plastic body, glows in the dark. So perfect for a grip as they're known.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love everything
Good.
about this. The variety, the comprehensiveness.
It's
There's
pretty
multiples
expansive.
of
Yeah.
yeah, it's multiples of everything. They said that they were switching between tools and watches, and there's even a lot of color and personality. You have that Godzilla Hank. You
Mm-hmm.
have the Digimon background behind that. Um, and I really like a lot of the uncommon pieces here. For example, when was the last time you saw a Tyvek wallet?
Oh,
That's
true.
lower right
Yeah.
is the mighty wallet in camo. which they
Yep.
don't make anymore, I think. So that's pretty cool. Very well worn too, if you zoom in. So nice to see.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
patina there. Why don't we just go through the actual full list, because this is a long carry, and I think there are
Mm.
going to be people who are curious what they are. So for the notebook here, we have the Lockbeat journal cover, and then we've got a bunch of pens, right? So there's the Sherpa Cross Savage Industries Sharpie case, and then some pens from Everyman. So there's the Grafton pen and the Grafton pencil, and they're color coded, I guess. Then you just have a uh, pocket screwdriver, Ready Sharp CD marker, Klein Tools, electrician snips. I think that's this.
The
Um,
scissors, yeah.
yep. And then you have an NT cutter with a Night Eyes hip clip. Where is that? Like, where am I looking?
Probably on the back.
Um,
It's probably not
uh,
visible.
yeah. Let's see. Roxon Flex Companion. Is that Roxon? Somebody's gonna come for me.
Probably Roxanne. I would
Yeah,
say Roxanne. Yeah.
yeah. Then we have Workshop Fidgets wooden beads, a handmade woven rainbow bracelet, and then some of the watches that they switch between here. This is the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3 on the Dispatch Fidlock strap. I never thought I would see someone use the Fidlock watch strap
I
from Dispatch.
know.
I
I've
thought it
been
would be
so
like
curious
pretty
about that.
bulky, but I think it makes sense
Yeah.
on a Samsung Galaxy Watch because it is already pretty big. Then the other watch here is the Bertucci A2TS on a Miltech or mil spec TI strap, and then the Godzilla Hank from Lone Star Hanks, as you said, and then the patinaed Tyvek Mighty Wallet, as you mentioned before.
Yeah. There's a lot more stuff too. The
Uh
keychain I think wasn't detailed out, but that looks like a nail clipper. You've got
yeah.
the HK clip keychain with a paracord on it.
Bunch of hardware
Um,
here.
bunch of hardware, bunch of
Yeah.
keys and key fobs. But one thing that really stood out to me here is a lot of the stuff you would think would be more common is not present. Like Everyman is one of the options for machine pens, but you don't see it that often. I would have
Mhm.
expected like a Sharpie here. I would have expected like a different pair of scissors here. Um, Bertucci is another one that I wasn't expecting for a field watch, even though it is very good. You would have
Mhm.
expected like a Leatherman or a Swiss Army knife, but instead you have a Roxxon
Mm.
one. You could have had any number of Milwaukee fastbacks in this carry, but no, it's another unique thing. So that
Yeah.
just tells me that there is some specific purpose. There's some specific curation going on here, even though it's a lot more generalized stuff rather than specific EDC brands or specific EDC tools. And I just wanted to point that out that this seems very selective, very curated, even though it's a lot more generic. Generic, not in a not in a negative way. Generic, more as in general purpose tools rather than more
Oh, I see.
EDC
I see.
specific ones. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. I think what I would what got my attention was the intention behind things being high vis, glow in the dark
Mm.
as a stagehand. But then at the same time, I'm like, but you only have one flashlight? So I don't know. I would have expected just more lighting, but I guess in that type of work, you want to be really discreet, right? So you
Yeah.
probably you don't want the 12,000 lumen floodlight or whatever. So just something that glows in the dark, runs on a AAA if you needed to. I think that makes a lot of sense. And the E8, by the way, is pretty good. It's like 700 lumens out the front, or sorry, not out the front, meaning like the actual rating is out the front. I don't know if that's true, but the front emitter, because it does have side lights. It has, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
UV and warm white side lights, and then
Dual fuel too, which I like.
yeah,
There's a
dual
AAA in
fuel.
there.
So
Yeah,
yeah, you have a Duracell in there or USB-C rechargeable. So, and this thing is really light too because of the body, like the poly body that glows in the
yeah.
dark.
They are very
So
light.
this is actually a good light. I have a couple of them. I don't know. I think it it's still too bulky for me as a keychain light because I like having more cylindrical stuff on my keys. But
Mm.
this would be a great pocket light because it's similar to the candy bar form factors that we're talking about becoming the meta, but just even smaller. So if it works for your ergonomics, I think it's good, just because it has the side light and then the main emitters. So
Yeah, I love
that's
it.
my thoughts on this one.
Thanks
Yeah.
for actually tagging us, and I was bugging them to just make the submission, and I told them, yeah, we'll fast track it. We'll talk
Mhm.
about it. Thank you for the submission. But yeah, if you want to submit your own, we have links everywhere on these posts, right up there on the top of the site. Let us know in Discord, and we'll point you to the right direction. But yeah, we
Yeah.
love to hear from you, especially people we talk to daily. So love to see it.
Yeah, thank you, Ray Jack. Let's move on to the next one here. So this is from Gunther Steele. They are a journalist in the U.S. and they say these are the tools I use on the daily during the work week as a local journalist. Slim, simple, and reliable across the board. So what do we got here? We got a Ramblin' Leather Goods Slim Wallet, some nice
Mhm.
patina on it, and then the Victorinox Jet Setter, the mythical Jet
The
Setter,
mythical, the
right?
unicorn. There we
You try to
go.
find these nowadays, you can't because the TSA took all of them for some reason. Uh, and then you got the Victorinox Army One Alox, and then
I've
a
wanted it for a while.
Brilliant House voice recorder, and then the Parker Vector fountain pen. Hell yeah, fountain pen user. And then the Olight i3E EOS flashlight with a Casio MQ24 7B2.
I love this photo, by the way.
Yeah, very well
Nice
done,
knolling, nice
satisfying.
composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put the high contrast stuff in the middle, grabs our attention, then frame
Mhm.
it with all these rectangular
I didn't even
pieces.
realize that was going on. Very
Oh, see,
nice.
I've
And
done a few flat lays in my lifetime, so I know what's going on here.
uh, so they could be a photographer in addition to a journalist. So well done.
Sometimes you do both, you know?
Many hats, many hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the choice of multi tools. Number one, Jet Setter, like Bernard said, mythical
Hmm.
status. One of the few bladeless Victorinox tools, really
Yeah.
cool.
It's got the
And
scissors, it's got the bottle opener driver thing, right?
yeah, to a
But
simple two layer, lightweight
yeah.
tweezers, toothpick, and all of that. And the very uncommon and one I want for myself, the Victorinox Army One Alox, which is just a
Hmm.
single layer, single tool. It's just a knife.
It's
It's just a
just the
slip
blade.
joint knife. Yeah,
That's so
I love it.
smart when you pair the two together, you know?
Exactly. You
Yeah,
can leave one at home if you need to.
right.
Yeah,
Or both, you know?
or both.
If you're walking through a government building to like do an interview or something, like they just can't. Um, but yeah,
this this yeah. Go ahead.
my favorite thing is the journalism specific stuff. So the voice recorder
Mm,
and the fountain pen, you're just flowing, man. You're taking those quick notes, and then the voice recorder, you just who gets to do that? Not many people get to record in the field with a dedicated voice recorder. I think that's sick. People might use their phone, but like I love the single purpose tech. I
big
love that
old
stuff.
red
Yeah.
recording button. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
dude. I had an Olympus, so like a Japanese voice recorder that oh my god, I'm dating myself. Like over 10 years ago, would bring to lecture halls to record lectures. Now they just
Wow.
like upload that, and you don't go to school at all anymore. But I had one of those, and I tried to revive it, get batteries back in it, find like the whatever media format flashcard thing it used for it. It just didn't
Nah.
work. It didn't work it anymore, but it would have been cool. Think about like I don't know how much you guys think about this. It's not really EDC related, but just the sounds of your environment, right? Just the
Mm,
normal sounds of your everyday life and how that could change over the course of your life. And imagine like the voices of the people that come in and out of your life and just the sounds of like the work you do or the content you have on, that kind of stuff. But if you're constantly just like playing music and you're just like tuning everything out, you kind of take that for granted. So there was a time when I wanted to use that and have it in my EDC, that voice recorder, and then just take field recordings of either the environment or my thoughts in that moment. I don't know. I just thought it would be cool to like use that piece of tech in an EDC for a bit. So that's
speaking
why
of
I really like this.
speaking of dating, this pen, this pilot pen, takes me back so hard because the silver tipped on the bottom of the pen, that's a
Hmm.
kind of very old design for Parker, isn't it? Those used to be the meta when I was in school, where you'd
Oh.
have you have the arrow clip, and then you have the silver bottom on the pen. That's where you post the cap,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's slightly thinner than the main body, but that it looks like a magician's wand, but that little piece of silver at the end, that's so nostalgic for me because
Nostalgic for you?
that was such a school pen for all of us. Like that was like the ideal. Everybody was rocking the Parker ballpoints,
Mm.
the fountain pens, but all of them look like this. Usually in the navy blue, but yes, exactly like this. So that
Mm.
really takes me back. I also like the choice of watch. It's very
I was gonna
simple,
say
very
it's a nice
expensive,
watch.
super easy to read, and
So
nothing,
legible. Yeah.
no embellishments on it. If you're in a, you know, high pressure journalistic situation,
Uh-huh.
it's no fuss. There's you no need to worry about anything. It's
Yeah.
very inexpensive, and all it
Doesn't draw attention. Yeah, it's
exactly
probably super comfortable, probably pretty
super light.
durable,
Yeah,
accurate enough. I think this is a
probably
quartz.
12
God
bucks
tier
or something.
Casio. Yeah, dude.
And
Awesome.
easy to read above all of that. It's a simple
Yeah.
quartz, easy to read, lightweight, inexpensive, easy to replace. What more can you want from a watch, right?
Yeah, dude. I'm imagining Gunther Steele sitting at a desk across from the person he's interviewing, sets the voice recorder down, opens up his notebook, caps the pen. He starts writing the date. Then he looks at the time on his watch. Oh, he's
Oh,
ready to go.
he's locked in.
Yeah, maybe I should just become a journalist. What do I do? I'm so excited by this person's EDC. I have no idea what they're doing in their day
a
to day.
whole a whole
Yeah,
last story just formed
I
from
know,
this
right?
one photo.
They could just be like on TikTok, like the rest of us or something, all day. And I'm just like, oh, this guy's sick. But I don't know. So thank you, Gunther Steele, for this. I really enjoyed the EDC. Very cool.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. We'll jump into our last EDC for today. This is from I for Ilya. They are a lawyer from Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. Did I say that correctly? It's
Oh
just
no.
things that are always with them. That's a hard one for my American brain. But what do we got in here? We got some alpaca soft goods, the
Mm,
Bravo X Sling V2, and the zip pouch here, and then a bunch of tech, right? So we have this Xiaomi ultra thin power bank, and then we got the Olight i5R EOS flashlight, a film camera, so that's kind of old tech, and
mm.
then this Huawei watch, so that's again more modern smart tech, and then everyone's favorite. No, why did I say that? That's controversial. The Nintendo Switch in OLED. I don't know if that's everyone's favorite gaming device, um, but yes.
So one thing I guess is the main thing here is this is not something you would expect as part of a lawyer carry, right? You're thinking suits and briefcases and very conventional stuff, I would say.
Hmm.
You're not expecting to see a film camera and a
Oh, true, true.
smartwatch and a Nintendo Switch. But I come from a family of lawyers. Like half of my family is, I have a whole side of my family that's all lawyers.
Hmm.
And you would be surprised that, well, probably not, that not everything you see on TV, like what lawyers do in a courtroom, that's not day to day stuff for them. A lot of being a lawyer is long nights behind a desk at
Playing Mario Kart.
playing Mario Kart. Now, it's a lot of long hours reading through documents, preparing
Yeah.
documents, and in front of the computer. And the thing that when I meet up with my cousins who are lawyers, they actually come to here to Cebu a lot for they're working on a case right now. Every time I
Hmm.
meet up with them, all they want to do is hang out and eat and drink coffee and just unwind from the day
Oh
that they've had.
yeah.
So they have a lot of conveniences. They have really nice headphones. They have really nice big phones they can watch videos on the plane for their flights. Lots of tech, also power banks and stuff like that. So
Mm.
this actually tells me a lot about how this is the actual true lawyering because it's
Uh-huh.
talking more about the life after the lawyering day is done and not
Interesting. Yeah.
specifically the because if you would think what's a lawyer carry, there's probably a nice briefcase, really nice fountain pen in there somewhere, really fancy
Yeah.
watch. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
First thing you
getting
would
at
think, right?
something really interesting. Like just
Yeah.
going back to this previous one, I had this whole story
Yeah,
made up
exactly.
of what Gunther Steele
Exactly.
does based on the items in this photo about and just they could have lied and said, "Oh, yeah, I'm a journalist in the U.S." Like that could just be made up, and I'm already like making this fan fiction about this person, right? Whereas you have this, and like maybe this is more true to what like what they say they need that is always with them.
Yeah.
And I think at least historically, like when we started EDC, when we first built the website, one of the first things that we asked is like, okay, what is your profession, to give context to the EDC. But
Yeah.
an EDC like this kind of challenges that presumption, right? That your EDC and your profession are always need to be linked in some way and like explain in some way. But
Yeah.
that's probably not necessarily true. It doesn't have
We
to
can
be.
be multifaceted.
Nah,
Human
that's not
beings.
allowed. No, we have to be one dimensional and just be the reflection of the inanimate objects on the floor. uh
Just
no,
in our
yeah,
3x3 squares eating our protein cubes, right?
exactly.
And I just love all of the color here. Like from
Hmm.
the phone case to you could have gone with the gray ass Joy Cons instead of the red and blue one. You could
Mm.
have gone for just like plain black shades, but no, you went for the amber ones. You could have gone for basic black rubber strap, but no, you went for the olive
Yep.
green one. So there's
Right,
color
right.
everywhere. There's like accents everywhere. Just love it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just not traditionally like you're saying, like how
Yeah.
you would expect a lawyer to present themselves.
Mm,
So I like that. Sometimes we
yeah.
talk about, oh, EDC can be self-expression, but then I'm catching myself kind of falling into these same sort of preconceptions about people based on their EDC. There's some fun in doing that, but then there's also a lot of fun in those expectations being subverted, like they just were. So
Mm,
I appreciate this, Carrie. It's pretty cool. It got me
yeah.
thinking again about EDC and how it connects to the person who EDCs it. So I appreciate that a
Still
lot.
learning. We're always
Yeah.
students of the game. Yeah.
We should redo the intro, right? Where it says like, and maybe teach you a thing or two while we're at it. It's you guys teaching us, I think, most of the time. Like,
Next
let's not get
episode.
it twisted. I know, right? We'll fix that.
Yeah.
But really appreciate this pocket dump for for Ilya. If you guys want to submit your pocket dumps, you can always go to everydaycarry.com and hit the submit your EDC link, and we'll have a link directly in our show notes, or you can always send us an email at podcast at everydaycarry.com. So I think that just about wraps it up for today's episode. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Hit the subscribe, share with a friend, and follow us on our socials. If you want to be part of our EDC community, feel free to hop into our Facebook group or Discord server for more real-time discussion with other EDCers. And lastly, if you have any feedback for us or questions you want answered on the show, you can shoot us an email at podcast@everydaycarry.com. Thank you so much for listening to Carry the Way. I'm Bernard.
And I'm Mikey. And let us know what you bought for Black Friday.
Peace.
Peace.